Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Nathan Drinkard. I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. We're on Anchor, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and everywhere else that holds a podcast repository or whatever. And if you're looking for us in the video format, you can find us at the A Drink of Wisdom YouTube channel. Drink, this is a big one. Great to be with you again because we got a lot to get to.
I'm good. Well, glad to be with you. Of course, always my brother from another mother. But usually this is the part where I ask you how you doing, but I'm just gonna keep it rolling because we trying to get through. Another day, another dollar to give the streets what they need. We see what they don't. Absolutely say what they want. Set your dinner plates. Hurry up and eat because this one's gonna be a little lengthy. And last but not least, let's talk some sports, baby. Jay, what we got today?
We got a lot. We just ate, so I want to take a sip of water. And the show's so big. I got Dr. Pepper too, so I had to, Anyway, we got a lot
over there.
We got a lot in this one. This is episode 47. We got big quarterback news in Cleveland. We got the Devontae Adams trade, and we got more NFL free agency.
But first, we start with, you know what time it is. It's March, baby. And you know what comes in March, March Madness. And we are deep off in the round of 64. I can probably say come tonight, we'll be on what we call the fourth quarter of the round of 64. So when the next games are played, we'll be in the round of 32. But some of the headways about the round of 64. Yes, folks, we had a number 2 seed already go down. They lost to the St. Peter's. So that's a 15-2 game that went the other way. 85-79 in overtime, St. Peter's over Kentucky. We had a 5 seed go down. The number 12 Richmond Spiders, that is, defeated the number 5 Iowa 67-63. And then we also had a 6 seed, bite the dust, number 11. And listen, folks, don't get hung up on the names. I'm just telling you what the seeding is. The number 11 seed Michigan Wolverines, took down the number 6 seed Colorado State Rams. And today, my beloved Alabama Crimson Tide suffered defeat to a first 4 team that is the number 11 seed Notre Dame Fighting Irish. That game was 78-64. So, Jay, with that said, we had some upsets. Most of the games with chalk, as we thought they were. What was the highlights for yesterday's action, and then what's then transpired so far for today?
Let's start with something personal. That since your beloved Crimson Tide bit the dust today, well, at least y'all had the fortune of being there. It's one thing to not be in a tournament as a Virginia fan, but then you start looking and you notice how many Virginia teams are actually in the tournament. I think Virginia Tech is currently getting dispatched by the Texas Longhorns. That's very pleasing to see. But you have the Longwood Lancers from Farmville, Virginia. I grew up about an hour from there. I don't think they've ever been in the tournament, or it's been a very long time since they've been there. Norfolk State, seemingly they're a 16 seed every 2 to 3 years. And then who else? Richmond. Richmond, the only team still alive from the state of Virginia. So, but anyway, you started off with the biggest upset. And I think, look, if you had Kentucky, and a lot of people had Kentucky in the Final Four, I think I had them going out the Sweet 16 in Purdue. So, I don't know. It's not unheard of. Like 15s upset 2s from time to time. It's not as catastrophic as losing to a 16. Speaking of Virginia, but right. It's just something you don't see coming. And the thing about Kentucky is, and I like Kentucky, I like John Calipari, but the thing that gets on my nerves about John Calipari is he always, he's kind of, when you looked at college basketball, you started when they did away with the being able to go straight from high school to the NBA, which brought into the scene the whole one and done scene. And Calipari, especially when he went off to Kentucky, that's where he made his name. Like he was the best thing smoking as far as recruiting guys, getting them in there for 1 year, and then giving them off to the NBA. But he always liked to use that as an excuse when he's having a bad season or a bad game. Like, well, it's one and done. It's hard, like, get these guys in for just 12 months. No, nobody cares, and especially when you lose to a 15 seed. It says St. Peter's. I don't know who the mascot is. Do you happen to know? Because I don't. That's St. Peter's. Not a clue. The blanks. I don't know, man.
The blanks.
That's awful. I did not get to watch this game, so I don't know how it played out. But based on the brief thing I read, it says St. Peter's look like the better team. They look like the better coach team, and that's hard to do. To look like the better team in a 15 seed versus a 2 seed. Like a lot of times, like what you have is the team, the top seed that loses, they just fumbling all over themselves, and they just getting in their own way, and the lower seed team just happens to take advantage. And I don't think, based on what little bit I read, that's quite what happened. That was the only catastrophic upset that we've seen. So more Gonzaga, I think they had some trouble in the first half against Georgia State. Georgia State matched them punch for punch, and then Gonzaga ran away in the second half. Baylor and Kansas, no real trouble for them. So, and then you had the 3 seeds that have played so far. Yeah, Texas Tech really, really rolled against Montana State today. Purdue had no trouble with Yale, and then yesterday Tennessee, who I have Tennessee winning it all. They look really, really good against Longwood. The 12 versus 5 thing that happens. That's not uncommon. And I thought Richmond. I just had a feeling about Richmond. Not that I've seen Richmond play all year, but Iowa is just a team. Even though they ran the table in the Big Ten tournament, it's just a team like. Anytime you see a team that's just high scoring, and I think Iowa was the 4th highest team in scoring in the country this season, that those type of things don't always hold up in the tournament, and it definitely didn't hold up in the first round game against Richmond. I think they averaged 84 on the season, and Richmond holds them to 63. And Richmond they look like they were the more mentally tough team, fundamentally sound. Came in with a plan. They executed it to perfection. And, that's what you had. And then you had New Mexico State taking care of UConn with, I think this kid's name was Teddy Walker, who had, I think, 37 points at that game. That was a bit of a surprise. That's just, and that's kind of the thing. Like when you look at the tournament, the great thing about the tournament is you see these guys from small schools that have just great talent, and they just don't get noticed because they don't get no airtime. And then you get them on the national stage, and you get performances like that kid. And it brings me back to, what I said about Ja Morant a couple of years ago for I'm blanking. Was it Murray State?
Murray State. Yeah. No, Murray State. Yeah, he went to Murray State.
Okay. But it was, I think, the year after Morant came to the NBA, that's where we didn't have an NCAA tournament. And it was kind of like, man, what if this was his tournament to come out and shine, and COVID had shut that down? Like, would he have been the number 2 pick? And, you fast forward now, would he be, perhaps the brightest young rising star the NBA has today? So that's just a point I'd like to make about, this tournament really, we know in the end, it's most time, always seemingly a blue blood comes out and wins it all. But the early rounds, there's always seemingly one team that shocks the world and makes it to a regional semifinal. And, New Mexico State, we'll have to see how it goes, but they'll get a shot at Arkansas. Vermont gave them some trouble in their first round matchup. Besides that, Colorado State really missed an opportunity. They were up I think they were up 9 at the halftime against Michigan. And then Michigan, once they started, getting a little bit of rhythm, they started using their size with Hunter Dickinson. And, they really just were locked and loaded from there. I watched a little bit. Had a chance to see a little bit of Memphis and Boise State. Memphis just looked like the bigger, more athletic team. They really took advantage of that in that one. And St. Mary's. You know what, Indiana. If you're gonna get beat by 29 points in the first round, don't even bother winning in the first 4, because that was atrocious in every way. Let's see, anything else? Oh, North Carolina. North Carolina, that is the largest margin of victory for an 8-9 matchup. They beat Marquette by 32. So I know Shaka Smart had that run to the Final Four for VCU way back when. Yeah, he ain't done much in the NCAA tournament besides that. I just had to throw that out there. Over to
you. Yeah, I agree with the Shaka Smart perspective. So I was just looking at the Pac-12. We was talking about the Pac-12, how the Pac-12 had 3 teams. I see one bit the dust in USC. UCLA seemed to still be alive. They scrum one out by 4 points. And I was trying to track down the third team as you was talking.
Arizona plays tonight. They start off in about 20 minutes.
Well, there we go. Arizona versus Wright State. So I seen that. So I'm like, yep, they odds just went down even further with one team already getting up out of here. But look, man, like you said, I guess, when I'm looking at these storylines now, I said Duke was going to be the first team. So I know the game tonight going to be of much interest to me to see how Duke come out now that Kentucky, that bounce. That's going to change things dramatically for that region. That Kentucky is down. But then I went back and, like you said, I looked at the 1 seeds, man. I had to go and see, like, will we have a 1 seed that come close to biting the dust? Like you said, Gonzaga. I remember you sent it in the group chat. Oh, you said it on Twitter. Maybe you said it on Twitter, I think. I seen it on Twitter, and I wasn't necessarily looking at the games. I don't too much care for one versus 16 games unless the one is really in trouble. I just usually take that as chalk or whatnot. But you had said something about it. I looked in. I think it was probably like a 7-point ball game at the time. And then clearly when I went somewhere else, I came back and Gonzaga was handling business. They looked like Gonzaga. To your point about Iowa, it's almost one of the things like what they say in for like pro basketball playoffs. You know how they say, well, you don't get those calls in the playoffs. So if you used to getting these calls during the season, that referee swallows the whistle, in the playoffs. That I kind of felt like that's what happened with Iowa. I mean, in a nutshell, like maybe calls or shots that they was throwing up in the regular season. Like you said, you don't get those calls in the tournament, and you come out here and you lose in the first round of the tournament. Not to say you was the only high seed team to lose, because it was others like my team. So all in all, hey, listen, interesting first round thus far. When he got some shakeups as well. I think once we revisit this on Friday, when we get the whole by the time we revisit on Friday, Tuesday. Once we revisit this on Tuesday, we should be probably getting back, because let me see, they skipped 1 day, right? I think they skipped 1 day from the first round to the second round. Yeah, so Saturday.
No,
all right, tomorrow. Yeah, so tomorrow starts round 2.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And
so
next week we'll have a semi Sweet 16 preview first. We'll recap the second round.
All right, very well. So that's what I was trying to say in a nutshell. When we come back to this thing on Tuesday, we'll be in the Sweet 16. So we'll have all this already wrapped up and laid out for what happens tonight, and then we'll see who the last 16 standing, and then that's when the real conversation starts, to be honest.